Here we are in the first week of June, and you can see that the daylilies are just exploding with color. Um, I've got a yellow, a red, a yellow, a red, and a yellow on each side of my walk. And I'm not just super crazy about daylilies. They're cute when they're like this, but for 90% of the year, they're just leaves with a lot of brown in them. I want you to observe something though. I believe these are happy returns, but if I'm wrong, I'll put it on the screen. But they have more of a pale green strappy leaf and a very bright and sunny yellow. If you look over here, these are the stellas. And the stellas have more of a dark foliage and more of a golden yellow bloom. Now the stellas have been blooming for a long time, and these here just started recently, but they're really pretty. But the main thing I wanted to show was that these yellow daylilies, in combination with this beautiful hidcoat lavender, which is right here, I think is absolutely beautiful. Now this hidcoat has been blooming for a little bit, and I did not prune it back, so it's not as tidy as it should be. But if you'll look at that beautiful color. Now the hidcoat has bloomed faster than my other varieties, which I'll show you here in a second. But I really like the bloom form on this particular lavender. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of a fat bloom. It's a really rich purple, and it just goes really nice with this yellow. Isn't that pleasing to the eye? Here's another angle of the hidcoat lavender that with that yellow behind it that I think is so beautiful. Very fragrant. The blooms are actually past their prime. If you could have seen them several days ago, I should have, actually I did record it and I accidentally deleted the video, but you can kind of see it's a gorgeous bloom, and I think it blends really nice with this yellow behind it. A beautiful pairing. Now if you'll look over here where my lamppost is, I have the phenomenal lavender growing, and it has really just started. Now the habit of this one I really love. It's just very ethereal and wispy, and it's just now really getting started. You can see on this side some blooms. But the scent is amazing. And one reason I love this phenomenal lavender so much is because in the winter, the old foliage turns a silvery blue, and it's an evergreen for us here in 6B/7A. We were 6B forever, and now we're a 7A, which, I don't know, I've planted some zone 7 plants, and they didn't make it. So I'm not so sure I'm buying into that yet, but time will tell. But regardless, this was a very hardy lavender that was just absolutely darling all winter. I mean, it looks really green right now, but I'm telling you, in the wintertime, you cut all these strappy limbs off, and that bushy undergrowth will turn silver. It's just really pretty, and soon I'm going to plant something around the perimeter of it. Someone in the comment section gave me a great suggestion, so it's really just a matter of getting those plants and trying them out and seeing how they do. But the yellow, it's a yellow plant, and I can get the name of it and put it on the screen for you. But I thought it was a lovely suggestion, and I really appreciate any pointers that you guys have, because I haven't been doing this for a long time, and I'm certainly not a master gardener. I just absolutely love plants. I'm addicted to them. One thing I want to quickly show you, I'll try to make it quick. My husband says I'm long-winded, is my Stella daylilies that I plant around the front. They have seen their moment, and now they are spent for the most part. Now, you'll see some yellow here and there, but they form these little, I call them seed heads, where the blooms were. And honestly, I don't want that. Look at that giant weed back there. I really don't want those on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally take a hedge trimmer, and I'm going to give every one of these just a flat buzz haircut. I know some people call it a Chelsea chop, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to whack them pretty much down about an inch tall. And what will happen is they will actually send up all new growth, and I can get a nice second bloom out of these. But if I don't, if I leave them as they are, they might send out here and there a few yellow blooms, but it won't be a spectacular show, and they look tired, and I'm not crazy about those seed heads. So I'm going to do that. In addition, my roses are spent. My pink double knockout. Now, one reason everything looks worse than it looks worse, is because we've had constant storms, high winds, and rain. And I want you to look how ugly these pink double knockouts are. They're just, all their blooms are spent, and even the ones that are on there have been rained on so many times that they're just not very pretty. So I'm going to also give those a nice haircut, along with this red double knockout, and we're going to make nice, and we may get a nice show later on with both the roses and the daylilies. My little dogwood that I planted here, this one is I think it's summer gold. I love this thing. I cannot wait for it to grow. Look at that variegation on there. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, this is the summer gold dogwood, and that is probably where a bird has done something with a berry. Probably a pokeberry. But I'm in love with that. I would just have those everywhere. But nothing's cheap, as you all know. If you like plants, you know that it's an expensive hobby. I just wanted to show you a few more daylilies, and I know that not everybody likes daylilies, and I get that. I'm kind of in that camp myself. I just want you to notice that I planted these daylilies here in way too much shade. Now, they're trying, but they have been here for like 3 years, and that's as big of a clump as they get, because they love sun, and yet they're still trying to look beautiful. But look at that rich, beautiful shade of red. I love these. I love them when they're beautiful and blooming, but when they're not, I have really no interest in them. And I have some more. I love this area right here. It's just, everything's baby, but I've got a blue spruce, a Colorado blue spruce. I have a Forever Goldie arborvitae, and I have this Twombly's red sentinel Japanese maple that grows very tall but very narrow. And I'm thinking that when all of these are mature, look at that combination of color. Sorry that the camera's shaking. I am literally getting swarmed with mosquitoes, so I'm going to move out of this area real quick. I have a really nice red bud here. I love this red bud. Now, we have a lot of red buds, but not the ones we have don't have these beautiful purple leaves on them, but just look at that. Aren't those beautiful? This is a forest pansy red bud that I literally just planted last fall. So it survived the winter. I say last fall, it was late summer when I planted it, but I thought, man, I hope it survives because it was so hot. And it did, and it's really put on a lot of new growth. Here are some more daylilies that I think are so pretty because it's got that really rich yellow throat and those beautiful red petals. But again, it's only pretty like that for a brief period of time. The wee white hydrangeas were really beautiful a couple of days ago. They've been hit with so much rain that well, it's been almost impossible for them to put on a good show. It's just, we've had horrible storms. That storm that blew that top out of that tree, these were already bloomed out when that hit, and you can see these down through here flopped, but normally they don't flop at all. It's just that they just couldn't handle the high winds and just that pounding, beating rain. But you can kind of see how large these blooms are compared to my hand. They're beautiful, but they're just so water laden that, and there's new ones forming. You can see this little one here. There's one back there and there. But most of them are kind of on their way out. So, you know, late May, really early June is kind of when they're in their peak. But they're called wee white, and it's from Proven Winners. All of my hostas are doing great. They love water, so they've enjoyed all this rain. My transplanted blue hostas here, they've never skipped a beat. The one back there is getting a little sunburnt because it's in the sun more than the rest of them. But it's still doing pretty good. This is the all gold Coneflowers grass. Autumn frost hosta. This is lava lamp heuchera. This is my wiggles and squiggles hosta, which does not seem to mind the sun. It gets quite a bit of sun. The more sun it gets, the brighter it gets. So it's, you know, it's doing great. And yeah, wiggles and squiggles. My Brunner is coming along slowly but surely. That's the Queen of Hearts. More autumn frost hosta. This one here is the most gorgeous heuchera. This is the Georgia peach. It's tall, it's wide, it's beautiful. It's got this gorgeous veining in the leaves. I mean, the old leaves are as pretty as the new. This is an old leaf. And then when the new ones come out, you know, they're beautiful too. And it's got these darling little wispy blooms. And these blooms have been on here forever. Like, every time I look out here, like, it seems like for a month they've had blooms on them. But I'm sure it hasn't been a month, but it just seems like a long time. More autumn frost, more Queen of Hearts. This is the spot on pulmonaria or lungwort. More autumn frosts, more of that blue that I don't know the name of. Hosta, and then another Georgia peach. Oh, and a lovely, healthy looking weed. And then that is a double knockout that again needs to be pruned up a little bit. This Winecraft Black smoke bush it's acting like it's on steroids. This thing is growing up, you know, 6 inches a week, it seems. I just can't believe it. It was much smaller than the smoke bush I have over here. even when I planted it, and it's been behind. I planted it actually a year later, and it's twice as tall now as the other smoke bush. So this Winecraft Black is a very vigorous and healthy, beautiful smoke bush. The Oh So Easy roses are still looking pretty. I've got a lot of coneflower that's growing. I've still got some lilies over here that are growing in spite of all of the rain. Here is a coneflower. They're really starting to peak here the first part of June. These are the double scoop cranberry, and I love their little fluffy tops. I just think that is such a beautiful flower. So right now the coneflower, or also known as echinacea, are really starting to put on a show, which I love echinacea, but rabbits will eat them. I actually stood out here one day and watched a rabbit eat the leaves of my coneflower. And looky here. Rabbit ate that. Well, he didn't eat it. He just bit it off, just for fun, just to irritate me, I think. Here's another double scoop cranberry. This is an older bloom. It's really fluffy. And then some of the newer ones coming out. The one in a melon coneflower here, just starting to open. So probably in a few days, it will be beautiful. My tall phlox is starting to also open. It's got blooms all over it, getting ready to burst forth, but this right here is my Atlas rose I just planted. Like in one of the videos before, it had just been planted. Beautiful shade of apricot. It's an Atlas orange. Excuse me, an Atlas rose. Here's a little closer look of these coneflowers. Not sure why that one is looking strange. It just hasn't opened yet, I guess. The baby's breath I started from seed is still looking cute. Very wispy and ethereal. Not in a good location. I need to move it. There's really nothing here for it to, I don't know, to accent. These are the Sunjoy Neo barberries. And they look beautiful all the time, except winter. They do defoliate. They're just kind of little spiky sticks. They do have thorns on them. And I'm just literally swatting mosquitoes all over me. You can see that my allium here is starting to actually put on its very first, it's got lots of little buds here, but there's its first bloom that's not even fully open. And this one is the Serendipity. This is the Serendipity allium. So it's just almost fully opened. So we're getting into that season where the alliums are going to be blooming. Got some blue starred juniper here. And then my balloon flower that I talk about all the time, it's just now starting to open up its first blooms. And I just love them. I think they are the cutest little things. And you can also see that my Russian sage is starting to set forth some blooms here. Now, this poor balloon flower has been hit with so much rain that the blooms are really not as pretty as they normally are, but that's just because they've had so much rain. But they are a beautiful flower. They stand pretty tall. I mean, these are every bit of 3 feet tall, maybe even a little higher. My daisies that I thought were never going to bloom are sending up nice little bloom heads there. Now this is a daisy that a friend gave me, just a tiny little clump of. You can see all of the, sorry, there's some little beginnings of blooms there. I planted it. It has probably grown 10 times the size in when she gave it to me. There's another Twombly's Red Sentinel Japanese maple there that I have strapped down like it's it looks like it's in maximum security prison there. But I'm trying to keep it growing nice and tall. I've got a cage around the bottom so that the rabbits don't chew the bark. I finally took down all of my support on this ginkgo tree. It really wasn't working anyway. And I think a bird landed on top of the very new growth and broke about a foot of the leader off the top. So that'll be interesting to see how that recovers from that. This is my Incredible Blush Hydrangea. It's like the wee white, except it's a blush color. These here have drooped pretty bad, mainly because of all of the rain we've had. But you can see some of the stalks are nice and tall. I don't think this actually gets enough sun here, surprisingly. It seems like it wants to reach out for the sun, and this is on the east side of the building. So, you know, it gets morning sun, but it doesn't get a lot of afternoon sun. So I'm wondering if I should move it and give it more all day sun, or if I just need to maybe be more diligent about pruning to try to keep it from growing quite so tall and leggy. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided, but I definitely want to move this Boom Chocolata geranium. It put out some blooms early, but I don't think it gets enough sun. It just didn't put on a very long show, and I know that I've seen other people show it, and it stays in bloom longer for them. So I think it just needs, now right now it's morning, so it's getting sun, but I think it needs more all day kind of sun. And this is just the area beside my greenhouse. This is the north side of my greenhouse. Most of all this is perennials except for the pink and white and pink and white and pink super petunias that you see there. This bubblegum and snowdrift. And then I have the heucheras here. And these are berry smoothie. And then I've got some more of the all gold Hakana clover grass. I've got a clematis there called Little Mermaid. This spot on pulmonaria has really done so much better than what it was doing early on. I kind of criticized it, and it's just really grown. So I take all that back, and then I've got my rhododendron here. Dandy Man Color Wheel is that one, and the flowers are glorious. And then just more repeating heucheras. I planted this lamium, this little patch of lamium right here the other day. I'm trying to do more ground covers. These are all of these are very young plants that's only been here at most 2 years. These green mountain boxwoods have been here since shortly after we built the greenhouse, which was 2 years ago. So this one here is a Trevi fountain pulmonaria, which usually keeps its little blue blooms very, very long. It's one of the first things to put forth blooms in the spring. I wouldn't even call it spring. It starts blooming in late winter. This is the Tutti Frutti, pink grapefruit, yarrow, I love the leaf texture. Look at that leaf texture. How unique is that? Sorry, the wind is really whipping it. But yeah, it's the Tutti Frutti Pink Grapefruit Yarrow. I think yarrow is a neat plant. You know, really, not just because of the blooms, but because of that really cool ferny type foliage that it has. I'm really proud of this little guy. This is a dahlia that I planted, or I actually started it from seed. And look at the little blooms it's got on it. Not blooms, buds, excuse me. This one is it's a pink labyrinth dahlia seed mix. So it'll be interesting to see what they look like. Now this little guy here is also a dahlia. And look what the rabbits did to it. Bit off the main stalk, and so it's putting out some of these lateral shoots that I don't know if they'll ever produce or not. But that's what rabbits are good for. They're cute, but they're very destructive. A lot of these plants I went over in my last video. This is the Nightlight Chamaecyparis, but I absolutely love it. You know, it stays with this yellow highlight look to it all winter, but it really comes alive and becomes vibrant in the spring and summer. And I just absolutely love it. Now it'll get pretty good size, but it's okay. And you can prune these guys back a little bit to keep them in check. Just don't wait too long. But I actually kind of want it to fill up this area a little bit. I planted another clematis since the last time, and put this little trellis thing in here. This one is called Blue Light, and it's just a baby. I put 2 tags because inevitably the tags become lost. But hopefully that will take off. It's already grown a lot since I planted it. And I've got a dogwood here. A lot of young stuff that it's going to take a little bit to really grow, but hopefully everything will live. I'm working on this bed here. I want to make some changes. I want to move some things. Obviously need to add some things. And then I want to mulch it really well and continue this rock circular border, cut into this grass a little and meet up with this area over here. The other day I planted this golden globe arborvitae and chopped the roots to pieces, so it's had nothing but rain. It's not been super sunny on it, so I'm hoping that it lives. And I also planted this pinpoint blue fall cypress the other day, and it doesn't look like it's it doesn't look like it's suffered, but sometimes these evergreens, there's a delay. You don't know that they're suffering until it's too late. And then some more lamium. This one is the beacon silver, and it is beautiful. I love this light mint green kind of color here. It's very light, kind of a seafoam green. I guess they call it silver, and it is kind of silver when you see it in the light, but it's got these kind of purplish pink blooms on it. None of these are open right now, but I think it really brightens up a shady spot, and it's a wonderful contrast against this mulch. This nice little rounded bush is my summer crush hydrangea that for some reason it's got great form and beautiful leaves, but only 3 blooms forming. So I'm gonna have to figure out what it needs, because it's not blooming very well. My Hosta blooms are forming, and they are so cute. I love this variegated Hosta anyway, but then if you look at the blooms, aren't those pretty? I just think their blooms are really pretty. And I know that's not why you grow hostas. But I know some people that cut them off, the blooms off, and I'm thinking, don't do that, because it really provides beautiful structure, and the pollinators like it, and this soft lavender color is really pretty. So I leave them. Now once they, fade and start looking kind of ratty, obviously I don't keep them. Here's a Hinoki cypress I planted. He had been in a pot for a long time. This is a slender Hinoki cypress, and I love evergreens, and I especially like the ones that have the weird funky shapes. I've got a bunch of mint, 2 different types of mint, and some spirea back here that are pretty much finished blooming. My poor little sugar tip rose of Sharon is just, I transplanted it out here. I've been trying to tree form it, and I had it in a pot for a long time, and it is in a complete state of shock. It is barely hanging on. It has not put forth any new leaves, buds, nothing, and the leaves are curled. Now I do know that Rose of Sharon do not like a ton of water, and because of all the rain that we've had, my guess is that it's suffering from too much water. I mean, the ground can't even dry out before we get another torrential rain. And it's been like that for weeks. So, I mean, we're appreciative because as farmers, we have to have rain for our corn crop and our soybeans. We're getting ready to harvest wheat in the next couple of days. Our corn is looking really good, even though it was completely beat down to the ground almost. After that one storm, we thought we'd lost it. We thought it was all broke off, and a miracle happened. Literally, just like within 2 or 3 days, it was standing completely vertical again. I wish I could have recorded it every day so you could have seen what a miracle that was. Here is probably the most exciting plant that I have planted this season, and it is a Queen of Sweden. It's a David Austin rose, and I am in love with it. I know I've talked about it in several videos I've made, but it is the absolute perfect shade of pink. It's not too dark, not too bright, not too yellow. It's just a soft baby doll pink, and I absolutely love it. Here's some foxglove. I just got this foxglove from Lowe's, and I don't know much about foxglove, but when I saw this, I'm such a sucker. I had to buy it because those blooms just, I don't know, they just drew me in. Here's another dahlia I planted. I keep saying I planted, but I grew it from seed, and you can see it's really grown, and it's gonna be having some flowers soon. And I'm anxious to kind of see. It's grown so much, it's literally overshadowing this little baby lavender here. But this dahlia is a dinner plate breakout dahlia. Now, when I ordered it, I ordered the seed off of Etsy, and she sent me a sweet little note, and it said that when you plant some of these from seed, you cannot always be sure exactly what they're going to look like, because I guess the seeds come from different parents, a different pollinator, different pollen from different other dahlias, and so therefore you may get a mixture of different genetics, which may or may not look like the original. So it'll be interesting. These were so beat down the other day, these Super Tunia bubblegum, but look at them. They are just a resilient little plant. One hosta that I really like that I just recently planted is this Dancing Queen. This is a Dancing Queen hosta. It's just a very young plant, but it is already it's just doubled in size from when I planted it. You see all the new little growth coming out. But it is the most vibrant yellow chartreuse lime green color. that it just absolutely glows in this little shaded area. There's some more lamium that I planted about 2 weeks ago or so, and look at the new growth. All over it, there's new growth. So it's doing really well here. It gets lots of water here because this is sort of a low spot, but it seems to be okay. I'll just have to keep an eye on it. Something's eating it, but not sure what. I probably need to sprinkle a little bit of slug and snail bait there. This is a columnar blue spruce here that has really, I planted it shortly after we built this greenhouse, so it's been there a couple of years as well. So just a few weeks ago, I had ordered from Brex some bulbs, and one of the bulbs I ordered was a lily, and I'm not sure how you pronounce this lily. It's Elodie, Elodie, Elodie. Now, it's been hit with so much rain that this bloom is probably not a good representation of what it normally looks like. But I loved the color, and it's got another couple of little buds getting ready to open. I thought it was taller than this. This is only about 8 inches tall right now. Now, it's probably because I just planted it. I couldn't believe it was already coming out of the ground and made a bloom this year. So Brex is they usually send out really good quality stuff. But I also planted another LOD lily right there, and you can see 2 little buds. This one's even shorter. This is only about 5 inches tall, and my little tag there is the daffodil name, not the lily. But it's, I just think that bloom is so pretty. But probably in another week or so, they will all be kind of fully bloomed out, and maybe I can get a video of it. Over here, the other day, I planted this Ostrameria. It's an Inca lolly, and it got beat with rain. So poor thing is, everything looks tattered because of all the rain. I can't catch it looking pretty because, anyway, I'm not familiar with Ostramerias because this is a Zone 7 plant. And it's really a test to see if it'll even survive in our area. Yes, we just became a Zone 7, but again, I'm not so sure. I just don't know. They use averages and things like that, and if we have a extra cold winter, it may not make it. But I did plant it on the south side of this building, and this metal gets really hot when the sun shines on it, and the sun is on it pretty much all day until the very late in the evening. So I think it gets plenty of sun, and it should get protection from the north winds. But it has a tuber type root system, and it was interesting when I read about it. It said instead of just pruning off the dead blooms, one of the sites I read said you just reach down in there and actually pull up the stalk. And then if you pull up the stalk, it will actually cause it to want to send out more stalks. And then you can see that a lot of new buds are forming on it here. So it will have lots of blooms. But I think this is the most awesome tropical looking bloom. And it's sort of a hot pink color. I think it's more of a hot pink than a red. But some of these do look red. So I guess it's just all in your perception of it. When I got this, I actually got it from an Amish nursery. It had a lot of this browning on the leaves, but when I took it out of the pot, it was the most root-bound thing I won't say it's the most root-bound thing I've ever seen, but it was up there in the top 5. So this is sensational lavender here that I just planted. They were like little plugs, and they have exploded in growth. Just planted them a few weeks ago. I'm talking, you saw some of the plugs that I planted over on that other side. These were a different batch that I planted, but it's amazing how fast they have just multiplied. Lavender is just a really clean, neat, tidy plant to me. It doesn't seem to be bothered by anything at all. I mean, rabbits might bite it. They don't eat it, but they might bite it off just for, just to get under my skin probably. But I really like lavender. So hopefully it'll do well here. It's gotten so much rain, and I know it doesn't like to be wet, so it's interesting. If you notice these things here, this base that I've used underneath my urn, so these are, it's farming. It's a farming thing. It's a brake for a huge tractor. It's some type of a part of a brake, not brake pads. I forget what it's called. Brake drums? I'll ask my husband and I'll put it on the screen. But he was just going to take it to the metal recycling place. And they're heavy, so heavy I can't hardly lift them. But when I put this urn down, it was so short that if I underplanted it, it would have hidden this beautiful ornate bottom of this urn. So I didn't want to do that. So I thought, I'll paint these brake things. And I tried to match the color. When I paint it gray, it looks too gray. It makes the urn look kind of almond. When I paint it almond, it looks gray. So I haven't found that perfect matching color yet, but I'm hoping that things that I plant around it eventually will kind of hide that, but yet it'll still provide some lift to my urn. But anyway, it was kind of neat because when I priced the pedestals for these urns, just for a simple pedestal, it was just ridiculous price. So I thought, I gotta figure out something else. So my husband had these in a pile, his metal recycling pile, and I'm like, can I have that? And then before I knew it, he had put an entire pile of them out here for me. So I've got a whole pile of them now that I just have to sand them down. I'll show them to you. So here they are, and you can see they're pretty rusted. And they just fit on a wheel, and I guess they were something he needed to replace. But I have like 8 here, and it's amazing. The diameter from here to here works really well with the base of most urns. So these provide just a little bit of a lift so you can raise your urns up. But I just use a wire brush, and I just kind of scratch off the surface rust, and then I just use a good Rust-Oleum primer. And then I paint it whatever color, and those over there I just showed you have been painted 3 or 4 times just trying to find a color that matches, and I haven't been able to find one. So I'm almost thinking I need to use a gray and a beige paint together and kind of just spray them together so I get maybe a mixture, a swirly look to it. But if you're not really thinking about it, if you look over there, if you can kind of, my finger's so big, but you can see where the urn is and where it's sitting on that base. There's some geraniums that I started from seed. The red one, I wintered over. You can winter these guys over pretty easy. This red one here, I just wintered over and put it out here, and it's been putting out blooms like crazy. But these 3 here, I started from seed, so it'll be a little bit before they produce blooms. Anyway, that's about all that I can think of that's happening right now. Everything would have looked so much prettier. The coneflowers, the balloon flowers, the lilies, really would have looked a lot prettier had we not had so much rain. And so it's been a little disheartening, and the mosquitoes are off the chain. I mean, I've probably been bit at least 10 times while I've been out here. One thing I did want to show you is I do have a little tiny summer crush hydrangea. You can see the blooms on it. It's not a very big plant, but you can just get an idea of what the blooms look like on the summer crush hydrangea. I can't hardly get too much stuff to bloom blue. Now this one, when I bought it, it was pink, and it's always been pink. So I'm thinking that it may just be pink, but a lot of these are pH dependent. So if you have a really acidic soil, a really low pH, there'll be more of a purpley, maybe blue, and then more alkaline, it's more of a pink. Now you can see the shade of this one is a little bit more on the purple side, a little bit more versus, this one. So it'll be interesting to see. But again, I can't seem to get these hydrangeas to put out more bloom heads. It's mostly foliage, so I'm wondering if I need to add something. What, phosphorus? I don't know. I need to do some research and see if there's something I can add to it that will, stimulate more bloom development. I've got a David. This is a David phlox, tall phlox, and it's really starting. It stands really tall. It's 3.5 foot tall at least. It's called David. This is another hibiscus here, this purple leaf stuff. It is the Holy Grail, and it just is way too big for this spot. I want to move it. I don't think it gets enough sun. Like right now, it's in the shade because of this Leland cypress is shading it. I've got some drumstick alliums. I think they're called drumstick, that are starting to open up. I've got those spread out throughout the bed here. Oh, I know one thing I was going to show you. And again, this is another plant that's sort of it's right on the edge of its hardiness. I had some others planted and they just die back. It's supposed to be an evergreen, but this is the sunshine ligustrum. And they are on the south side of this barn. I have not pruned them. You can prune them and make them cute little, balls. But they are a beautiful pop of color right here. It's the sunshine ligustrum. And they lived through that Arctic blast that we had December of 2022. They've been here for a little bit, but they are really, really a bright, shining spot. And I've got this, I believe it's an Arizona cypress here. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I'll have to put it on the screen because I really don't remember. But that sucker has grown like a weed. It was in a little bitty pot, only about maybe 18 inches tall. And it has shot up. It is taller than me. I bet that sucker is pushing 6 feet tall now. And it is a neat evergreen. Very icy blue leaves, if you call them leaves. What do you call those? Needles, maybe? But it looks really pretty against this sunshine ligustrum. The yellow of this sunshine ligustrum, I think. So this bed's going to have a complete overhaul, but there's some few things that are going to stay. And that tree and that sunshine ligustrum are definitely going to stay. There's some lilies growing up here. There's a super tall lily that's about 6 foot tall right there. It'll stay, but everything else in here, including these oh so easy roses, they're just way too big for the front part of this border, and it's literally crowding out everything behind it. So it's going to go, but I'm not probably going to do it until probably this fall. Here's another angle of the sunshine ligustrum. Again, if I had really pruned them this spring, early spring, they wouldn't look so wild and woolly. So that's something you definitely want to do with the ligustrum, is make sure that you prune it. But the coloring is just beautiful. I think it looks kind of neat with this little canna. This is a really short little canna here that a friend gave me, but you can see the little yellow margins on the petals. Isn't that pretty? And you know, cannas don't they don't do well in our area. The cold gets to them. But I planted this on the south side with this ligustrum, and it's been coming back. It's not a super healthy. You can tell by looking, it's not the healthiest, but it's coming back. So I'm excited about that.